This movie is really sad. 3-hour movies. Strap in, friends. Welcome back to Every Disney Movie Ever. My name is Jess and I'm watching Every Disney Movie Ever. Today I'm going to be talking about Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame is a 2019 theatrical release about the Avengers teaming up one more time to undo what Thanos did and defeat him once and for all. It's directed by the Russo brothers, cinematography by Trent Opaloch, editing by Jeffrey Ford and Matthew Schmidt, music by Alan Silvestri, and it's written by Christopher Markus and Stephen McFeely. Do not make me say all of the stars of this movie. It is a laundry list. Basically, everyone in this movie is somebody. Go ahead and look at what I listed last time in Infinity War, and just know it's all of them and even more. The original title for this was Avengers Infinity War Part 2. They took that title away so they could make it separate from it entirely and then reveal the title for it later. They began production in August of 2017 and it was shot entirely on IMAX cameras, which was, I believe, a first for a film ever to be shot entirely in the IMAX format. It was with Arri Alexa IMAX cameras. They wrapped in January of 2018, that's a long production. That's pretty decent. Reshoots happened in September of 2018 through October 12th. And then more reshoots happened in January of 2019, which is crazy. The Endgame title was revealed in the first trailer. The film had a $356 to $400 million budget, made $2.799 billion in the box office, overtook Avatar as the highest grossing film of all time, but soon after they released Avatar in theaters again, and it got its throne back. And 94% on Rotten Tomatoes consensus. Exciting, entertaining, and emotionally impactful, Avengers Endgame does whatever it takes to deliver a satisfying finale to Marvel's epic Infinity Saga. It was nominated for Best Visual Effects and did not win. The Russo brothers, after they finished this, said they were done, but they said they wouldn't say no to future. They were just done for now. They needed a break. The next two Avengers movies were announced, and it was going to be the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, as those were starting to get into development. All of the directors that had been brought on ended up stepping down, and then in 2024, last year, the Russo brothers were announced to be directing the next two, I believe, Avengers movies, the next one being Avengers Doomsday. You gotta hand it to them. Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and not Doomsday, obviously Doomsday is coming, Endgame. That's quite, to go step, quite the feat. They really invested the time and plan to make this all come together really seamlessly, and to direct and balance and navigate the story. All of these huge actors, you gotta be impressed. You gotta hand it to them. It's quite a feat, and honestly, they deserve their flowers. Wow. The film looked good. The IMAX format does sometimes warp the actors' faces, which is a little off-putting because it's meant to be on this huge screen that it probably wouldn't look so warped on. But otherwise, the coverage was really great. There's obviously a lot of green screen and digital because you've got a superstar cast that probably couldn't be all together all the time. I would say the best looking sequence in this film, from a coverage point and just style in the background, was the Tokyo scene where Hawkeye is killing the one mafia guy or whatever. That sequence was so good. I also think the coverage in the Cap versus Captain America fight, where Captain America is fighting past Captain America, that was reminiscent of Winter Soldier, which was Trent Opaloch. So Trent Opaloch also did this one, and the coverage in that was so good. I think Trent Opaloch kind of shines in the shaky, fast coverage of fights. Honestly, I think Trent Opaloch's an action guy. I think he really shines there. And then the de-aging on Michael Douglas in this one was very bad. Compared to the Ant-Man movies, his de-aging in this one looked very problematic. It just was so bad. Otherwise, I don't have a lot of complaints about the visuals. Like, everything else looked as good as it normally does in a Marvel movie. I know a big complaint, or at least in the areas I'm in, a big complaint of this movie was, and I agree, that you couldn't do as well of a balance between the characters as you did in Infinity War because half the people are gone for 2/3 of the movie, right? Like, Black Panther, Falcon, Bucky, you know, like, so many of them, like, Peter Quill, Spider-Man, so many of them are still blipped 2/3 of this movie, so it's the original Avengers for a majority, and then some, you know, Captain Marvel and Rocket and Ant-Man, in the first 2/3 of this movie. So it feels very unbalanced and not as fair as the first one did. The first one, I keep saying first one, Infinity War did. Infinity War, I know I gushed and gushed and gushed. I think it's one of the best, or if not the best, I think it is the best Marvel movie because of the sheer balance of characters, the story, the pacing, everything. This movie, it's a different film, right? It's a different film entirely. You're dealing with very real world issues, and then you start messing with time, okay? And the edit of this, it's 3 hours long, which, to its credit, flies. Not a moment I felt bored or like the movie was too long. So they got the movie to be effective and fly and do what it needed to do and tell the story it needed to tell. So I have no, like, complaints that it's too long. Do I wish it wasn't 3 hours? Sure, but at the end of the day, I'm watching this and I'm going, I mean, I don't know if I'd cut anything, if I'm being honest. Like, I think everything they show is very nice and adds to the story. That being said, I do think it's unfair that 2/3 of this movie is like the OG Avengers cast and then a couple, and then the rest of everybody is blipped and don't show up until the last hour, which is a bummer. That sucks. Like, the reason the first one shines so much is because it's so well balanced, and what a feat. The editor really was editing their life away. This one, what's crazy to me is the time heist doesn't start happening until almost like about an hour in, so you have like an hour of all this story and figuring out time, you know, like all this kind of stuff, and then an hour in, you get to the time heist where they're gonna do, like, you know, gonna go back in time and get all the stones and do whatever they're doing. The last hour, literally, the last hour is when Thanos comes from the past and the big fight that everyone knows happens. That's the whole, it's an hour from when Thanos arrives through that whole fight. You know, major spoilers, you guys. Come on, the movie came out a few years, like 6 years ago. Wow, okay. So, all the way through Iron Man time, like, all of it, right? So, it is so well paced that that whole hour long section, you're locked in. It doesn't feel like an hour. It's super intense. Super, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Even though, like, you know you're hoping they'll win. But, like, and you have an idea that they'll probably win. But they really make you, like, stressed and work for it. And I think that's really great. Specific moments, I hate to bring this up, I brought it up visually, but I'm bringing it up again. Captain America versus Captain America fight, the edit of that was also very reminiscent of Winter Soldier, which is probably, like, one of my favorite shot and edited Marvel movies because it was such a departure from what we usually get. And so I feel like Trent Opaloch and the editors were like, yes, and got to, like, do that, like, little crazy fast fight sequence. It was really great. I feel like there's a lot of, like, fan service, obviously, also in this movie because it's coming to an end. It's the end of this 10-year saga, you know, a more than 10-year, like, over a decade-long saga of films. So they do a lot of fan service, which I'm fine with. I like the obligatory girl group shot. You can complain if you want. And you can say, like, it's corny and is, like, painting and whatever. I don't care. It was cool. I liked that there were a lot of female superheroes, and I liked that they got their moment. And I also love that Captain Marvel got her moment because there was the whole, like, he hasn't fought me. Like, her whole thing where, like, Thanos hasn't fought me or whatever. And so, like, he throws her aside and you think, oh man, that's it? That's all she gets? And she comes back and she almost gets that thing off of him. Like, it's just, like, I'm glad Captain Marvel was, like, the one that was obviously the most matched, right? And then I think, like, the balance during the final, like, battle was really well done. It had like the really famous like on your left moment, right? I think all of that balanced really well and balanced throughout the battle really well. I just wish those characters maybe got to come back a little bit sooner, so then the balance throughout the whole film felt like Infinity War did. But I digress on the editing. Truly, they had quite the task ahead of them, and the movie we got never felt boring and was effective at its story, so you gotta hand it to them. The music cue during the Marvel logo was actually really effective. It was like, strap in. Like, you're gonna... And so you're sad. And then, just like, the music was drama, right? Like, it was so drama in this one. Alan Silvestri ate it up. The music, when Scott realizes at the memorial that his family has thought he's been dead, and then he goes and sees Cassie, who's grown 5 years, obviously, is heart-shattering. It is so sad and so effective. Alan Silvestri really, I'm telling you. And then the Avengers theme coming in that like when all the people have come back because they've been snapped back to life, right? And it just took them a minute to find a way to get to where they were, right? Like, that moment is so strong, and then that final battle starting and the Avengers theme comes in. Great use of the theme. Perfect use of the theme. Probably my favorite use of the theme. So good. This movie, like, overall is really sad. Like, it's really sad. Obviously, it's triumphant, but it's also painfully sad. The whole, like, first 2/3 of this movie, when they're not winning, is painful. Seeing the reality of what's happened after the blip and all these people lost, you know, everyone. I mean, Hawkeye lost his whole family, which seems statistically weird, but I'm not gonna nitpick. Everybody lost someone, like, and, like, infrastructure is devastated. Like, you know, corporations lost just half their business so that things break down, this, that, and the other. Whatever it is, like, the world had to come to a halt, and it's 5 years, and people are trying to cope and deal, and, like, the reality of that, and, like, showing some of the reality of that is crazy, right? Like, that's really devastating, and how does the world come back from that, etc., etc. And showing that is really hard. Showing, you know, Nat and Steve and everyone just, like, not knowing what to do with themselves because they lost and they don't know how to go on because saving the world was their job and they, like, failed in a big way because they didn't save the universe, right? And they lost half their people, and, like, so it's just, like, really, really sad. Huge downer most of the time. Like, the opening, Tony and Nebula, like, gonna run out of oxygen and food. I did not remember Captain Marvel saves them. Like, I didn't remember that at all. I had no memory of how they got back to Earth. Tony's crash out, being, like, really upset and everything, and being, you know, at Steve's throat. Kind of valid. I mean, he's been through a lot through all of these movies, and I feel like it was a valid thing. Captain America saying, like, telling these people you gotta move on when he obviously can't move on, and then also the way he ends then is kind of annoying to me. I'll touch on it. Tony being a dad to Morgan is obviously the best. I think everybody loved that because that's how we got I Love You 3000, right? And then also go to bed or I'll sell all your toys. I mean, Tony is a dad. Robert Downey Jr. is just really good with kids all the time, so I just love it. Pepper asking, but would you be able to rest? And that coming full circle. Obviously, I saw this only one time in the theaters. I don't think this is a movie you rewatch a lot, right? But I obviously didn't connect Pepper from the very beginning in the first hour saying, but would you be able to rest, all the way to the moment, right? But obviously now that I know what happens, and I see her say, but would you be able to rest? The devastating blow of that, like, absolutely insane. Bruce and Steve and Nat trying to figure out time travel without Tony was really funny, and I loved that. That's a baby. Like, you know, funny Marvel quips, still alive and well. Tony saying maybe not die trying would be nice. Yikes. The taco bit, super silly. Obviously, all the funny stuff in there still. Okay, this is where I'm going to start talking about Fat Thor. So, Fat Thor, I feel like a lot of people really liked Fat Thor. and thought it was, funny and silly. Brie hates Fat Thor. And watching this and really, digesting it this time around instead of just, being along for the friggin' ride the first time I saw it in theaters, I can understand the anger there. So Brie writes that it felt cheap and felt like it made Thor a fool, and that it just, felt like it was constantly played for laughs instead of him really actually dealing with the grief. He's in a hut, he's not keeping clean, he's playing video games, drinking beer, perpetuating a lot of stereotypes that are problematic as well. And so it felt cheap and that he was made a fool, as Brie says. As I was sitting and digesting with it, and she also agrees and says, it also, undoes everything that he accomplished in the third movie. In the third movie, all of the movies, he did not want to be king. He did not want to, rule Asgard. In the third movie, he comes full circle on a beautiful arc. Absolutely stunning, and seems like, okay, he's the leader of Asgard. He's going to do it. And it was a wonderful, magnificent film. A beautiful arc for him that was just delicious. And then, obviously, the beginning of Infinity War, they kill Loki right away. And that's, immediately does a detriment to what just happened between their two characters as well. But then, in this one, taking everything he, came to terms with and learned and adapted to in Ragnarok, and just because they, and what he did in Infinity War, he got Stormbreaker, he did so much in Infinity War, and yeah, they lost, but, it does feel completely opposite of everything he just, went through and did his arc and learned, to have him go all the way to, he's gonna throw himself away and his life away. It doesn't seem the most effective for his story. It did feel like it was played for laughs. It did feel like it cheapened everything he had already been through. So I am on the side of they kind of botched Thor's storyline in Endgame, really, because Infinity War, obviously they kill Loki, that sucks, but they didn't his storyline in Infinity War is very good. Him going to get a new hammer. An axe, obviously, is really great. That's one of the more interesting parts of Infinity War, although all of it's pretty interesting. This one, obviously, it just feels, he's played for the joke the whole time. He's drunk, he says weird stuff. The conversation between him and his mother is really beautiful and wonderful. Obviously, it's a great conversation. But it should have just been reassurance, not him asking if he was still worthy. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, the movie is great, obviously, so I can be nitpicky, right? So then that makes me want to jump from Fat Thor into the time travel, okay? And just the time in general. They talk about taking the Infinity Stones from a specific point in time and then returning them to that specific point in time so they don't cause any branches. When I tell you, no. No! Captain America fights Captain America. That automatically undoes everything that's already happened. Tony has the little heart moment because of Ant-Man. That definitely didn't happen. Loki gets away on that timeline. That automatically branches into timeline, which we learn in Loki or whatever. And is how he's alive. Then we get into Tony talking to his own dad. Then we get into Nebula and Rhodey going back to 2014 to get the Power Stone. And Nebula connects to her past Nebula's network, and they get each other's memories or whatever, which would be the one's memories, so she wouldn't notice, but past Nebula would be like, where are all these memories coming from? And that's how past Thanos finds out about everything. And then past Thanos comes to the present to fight, and they kill past Thanos. So now, forget about it. Forget about it. The amount of, like, messed up crap they did to all of the timelines. They've branched a million new timelines. There's no way. The amount of things they messed with is absolutely undeniably effed, for lack of a better word. So many paradoxes. Like, you think, like, Steve wouldn't have forgot that he fought himself, thinking he was fighting Loki. You know, like, it just, like, there's no way Loki would have fought like that. You know what I mean? And, like, it just was, it felt so loosey-goosey. Like, haha, we're gonna have Captain America fight Captain America, but you're messing up the past. Like, it should have been, they cannot be seen. They cannot be, you know, none of that. They couldn't have been seen, heard, whatever. Otherwise, the past is really screwed. And then Thanos coming back from the past, like, it just makes then what happened to them not happen. Anyway, the time stuff is kind of a mess. It's really not great, and I don't know what they were planning to do with, you know, I haven't watched all of the shows because I started to get mad that the shows were canon. Because you're asking people to watch a lot. That's a huge commitment. I already watched a 3-hour movie and a decade plus worth of movies. Like, don't ask me now to watch television shows. Because WandaVision, excellent. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, excellent. They didn't get second seasons, right? Loki, first season, fine. I'm not watching like, it's ridiculous. I'm not watching Moon Knight. I'm not watching, like, Hawkeye. I'm not watching these things. It's too much. Like, I can't be watching these if they're gonna be canon. Like, stop it. The movies need to be the canon thing, right? So in Loki, they really start to tackle the whole timeline crap. And then the timeline people come up in Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's a whole thing. Like, it's just absolutely bananas. So, inside all of that, though, we do get wonderful lines. That's America's ass. So he's an idiot. Yeah. Like, you know, we get Steve and Tony working together. Like, that's my favorite. I hate when Steve and Tony fight. It's my least favorite because I love them both so much. And so when they fight, I am very stressed with them working together to go back to 1970 and, like, steal the Pym particles and steal the Tesseract and everything. Like, it's just so good. I love it. Back to the time thing. Thor stealing Mjolnir from his past self. Granted, I know, like, kind of the next thing. Although, technically, he stole it in the middle of Thor 2, so now Thor is screwed and doesn't have Mjolnir anymore, so what the hell happens there? Like, it's gonna be a mess. Moving into, now they're getting the stones, very sweet moments. Obviously, the moment between Tony and his dad is very, very sweet. It's just too pure, it's wonderful. And, like, Tony realizing his mom is currently pregnant with him is... I love it so much. The thing that got me to cry first was Clint and Nat. Clint and Nat fighting to be the one to sacrifice themselves to get the Soul Stone is so beautiful. I'm getting emotional. It is such... Like... They both, like, without hesitation, are like, okay... It's gotta be me. Like, it's gotta be... No. It's gotta be me. No, it's gotta be me. Like, without hesitation, they're willing to sacrifice themselves, not only for each other, but for the universe at hand, right? And, like, no hesitation. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, this is what we have to do. That sucks, but that's what we have to do, and I wouldn't think twice about it. And the fact that Nat, you know, is like, this is what, like, this is it. This is what I meant to do. And Hawkeye's like, no, think about all the things I've done. Like, this is the least I can do to bring my family back. Like, it's gotta be me because you're so great. And her being like, no, your family is going to come back and you need to be there for them. Absolutely not. And the fact that they, like, fight, you know, and what really gets me is when they're hanging, you know, like, Hawkeye is on this wire or whatever, and he's holding Nat. Nat isn't holding him. She's open palm, so only he's holding her, not helping him at all, because she wants to be the one. And that's just really beautiful. Like, wow, you know, like if you really think about it, that's a really beautiful thing. And so that moment, like, I was already like this while they were fighting and everything, but then obviously when Nat dies, like, that's really sad, right? And so I did cry when Nat died, and Clint said it was supposed to be me. That was really hard. Hulk's snap working is wonderful, obviously, because it brings everybody back, which is really great, but you obviously, like, you think it worked, but you're not sure, because then here comes past Thanos because of Nebula. And then we get into the final sequence, which is, like, you know, some of the most fun, until not, with, you know, the Thor, Captain America, Iron Man fight against Thanos. We get the Captain America moment with Mjolnir, which is so exciting when, like, I mean, I cheered in the theater. I know everybody else with us cheered in the theater. It was so exciting and so awesome and so beautiful of a moment. And then you get the On Your Left moment, which is monumentous, honestly. Like, it is a huge popular culture, huge cinematic moment in history. Like, I mean, this movie became the highest grossing movie of all time for a short little period there before Avatar bumped itself back up. And so, like, this movie is obviously going down in history as one of the highest grossing movies and one of the greatest movies of all time, or whatever, because of moments like that, the On Your Left moment, where it brought everybody together, and it was just like a huge moment, right? And now you have a whole, you know, battalion that makes Thanos even hesitate, and like just the moments throughout that, Peter coming back, Black Panther coming back, Captain Marvel showing up and destroying Thanos' ship with like within like 10 seconds, Captain Marvel and like taking the gauntlet from Peter. And just like all the moments in there, the girl moment, the, you know, all the moments inside that battle are so good. And then obviously the iconic Doctor Strange one finger at Tony, and Tony understanding what that means. Sorry. And Tony stealing these stones, and obviously doing the snap to destroy Thanos and all his goons. And then Peter checking on Mr. Stark, and then Pepper. And the full circle moment of, we're gonna be okay. You can rest. Like, no, dude. Friggin' A. It's really good. And, like, cutting to Captain America and everyone crying, and the funeral, and the kid from the third movie, Iron Man 3, being kind of, like, you know, all grown up, being at the funeral. Brutal. Absolutely devastating. Captain America's ending. Let's talk about it. I don't love Captain America's ending. It felt like, you know, they already created so many issues with the time that I feel like him going back and being with Peggy, doesn't she have a whole storyline in Agents of Carter? Like, she gets a husband and stuff, doesn't she? I might be wrong. But, like, he undoes everything she does, it feels like. And then did he have children? We have no idea if he had children. And then, like, it just felt wrong. It felt not satisfying. I don't know. I do think, like, the argument is, like, Captain America deserves rest and deserves a break and deserves to pass the mantle 100%. But he's gonna go back in time, marry Peggy, and live through all the things that happen and not do anything about it. I mean, I know he, like, can't, because then he'll mess up everything, but they already messed up everything. So I don't know, it just felt not true to who he is and his character. So that was kind of a bummer. And then also, him giving the shield to Sam is great. Obviously, fully on board for that. I felt like Sam was the next one that was really wonderful. I know a lot of people wanted Bucky to be the next one, but Sam being the next one is so great. And I even love that when Cap goes to hand the shield to Sam, Sam looks at Bucky and Bucky nods. Like, that is so good. Like, how respectful and beautiful and wonderful. So, this movie, obviously emotionally effective. And a beautiful, like, trip, and what a culmination of over a decade worth of movies and the commitment of everyone involved. Obviously still has its problems, but overall is really wonderful. The director's cameo right in the beginning during the support group meeting that Captain America is running. The Russo brothers are in that meeting. They're the ones talking. Everybody acts for their lives in this movie, but I do need to say, I think Robert Downey Jr. is just in another caliber. He just... he brings something, such a realness to the character. Obviously, everybody else is very good. I cannot stress that enough. But there's just something about Robert Downey Jr. that he just is Tony Stark that is so, like, down to the core. It's in his eyes, it's in his movements, it's in everything he does. And I do think that about the others as well, but I don't know. There's just something about Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark that just is, you know? And I think he's just on another caliber. I mean, he's a very good actor. We knew this, but still. It just seems like the perfect pairing. Choosing a favorite part is hard for this one. Maybe on your left, because it's such a unifying moment. Maybe when Cap uses Mjolnir, like, that's so exciting and fun. The women heroes all together and helping, and just the sheer amount of them. Tony snapping and winning. Nat and Clint fighting to be the one to sacrifice themselves. There's a lot of really great moments in this movie. Least favorite part, maybe, okay, two. Either how sad this movie is. Like, this movie's a really big downer. Like, it's an emotional weight. For 2/3 of it, it's really sad. And for the last third, it's triumphant but bittersweet because you lose, like, some pretty hefty players. And I just think that it's a hard one. Like, I don't think this is one you would want to be like, hey, put Endgame on in the background, personally, because this holds a lot of emotional weight. Like, you really need to be, like, ready to watch this. Recommend, of course. I would not recommend it if you haven't seen any other Marvel movie. Like, I think you should probably watch all 30 leading up to this or whatever it is. And then watch again. Obviously, I would watch it again. I just cannot say this enough. I couldn't do it on, like, a day where I'm just like, hey, let's watch Endgame. Like, I couldn't. I would be an emotional wreck. I couldn't do it. The opening is very abrupt. I remember in the theater thinking, like, oh, because you just start on Hawkeye's family's, like, land. And I remember being like, why? I was like, this is very abrupt. Is this the movie? Because it just, like, started. That's everything I have for Avengers Endgame. My final rating is going to be 10 tacos out of 10. That feels silly. Our total movie count is... Parental, a little bit of a debate here, people. Do we consider Morgan Stark a main character? If we consider her a main character, Tony dying would be a parent death. If we don't consider Morgan a main character, I wouldn't necessarily count it. But also, he is a parent who dies. So do we count it? Vote down below if we count it. I might make a choice here. We'll see. Our cry count is... If you want to keep up with what movie I'm watching when, follow me on all socials and check out my website. You'll find out what movie I'm watching when. Go check out everything. It's really, really cool. Join Patreon. Got a tier starting at just $1. You get every video a week early. Tiers after that, you get daily trivia, bonus content, monthly postcards, names in the description of my video, etc. Go check it out. Buy merch. Merch is great. Merch is grand. Until next time, comment, like, subscribe. I'm not in charge of your life. You are, so you. And don't be Thanos about it still. Avengers Endgame is a 2019 theatrically